Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into a massive, frankly, game-changing move in the world of global science. We're going to break down the European Union's bold new initiative to lure top-tier foreign scientific talent. This is straight from recent discussions with the head of the European Research Council. Look, if you care at all about where the next decade of scientific breakthroughs is going to happen, you absolutely need to understand the mechanics of how that science actually gets funded. We're going to visualize exactly what's changing, why the current system is under so much stress, and how new tech is literally flipping the grant application process completely on its head. Right off the bat, let's talk about the big number, 7 million euros. That is the headline figure for the brand new ERC Plus super grants. We're talking 7-year, 7 million euro awards. And they're actually the largest ever provided by the European Research Council for basic, curiosity-driven research. The strategic goal here? It's pretty straightforward. Europe is essentially opening its doors and its wallet to attract outstanding researchers from all around the world. The source material notes this could serve as a huge draw for scientists globally. That includes folks in the United States who might, be feeling a bit disillusioned with the current state of research funding at home and are looking for a really robust, well-funded alternative. It's just a massive financial commitment to secure the absolute brightest minds on the planet. Okay, let's dive right into this. Our roadmap for today's explainer covers 5 main areas. We'll start with 1, the Super Grant Catalyst, move into 2, high-risk bold ideas, then take a hard look at 3, the budget reality check, discuss 4, defending independence, and finally, we'll wrap up with 5, the AI avalanche.
Starting off with Section 1, the Super Grant Catalyst, we're going to explore exactly what the European Research Council, or the ERC, is actually trying to pull off with this massive influx of targeted funding.
Just listen to this direct perspective from Maria Lepton. She's been the president of the ERC since 2021. When she was asked why the world needs these ERC Plus grants right now, she said, "What the world needs is peace and sanity. We are doing something that demonstrates the EU is attractive to high-level research careers." I mean, that is the very core of this Choose Europe for Science initiative. It's a deliberate, highly strategic play. They aren't just funding science here, they are aggressively marketing Europe as a stable, sane, and incredibly attractive destination for top-tier researchers who are weighing their global options. So let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds into the actual mechanics of these grants with high-risk, bold ideas. Okay, so the old standard maximum for an individual ERC award was 5 years. This new ERC Plus standard extends that to 7. Now, you might be wondering, why does a mere 2-year difference matter so much? Well, because high-risk, big, bold ideas just require a much longer runway. If a scientist is tackling a massive, complex problem, 5 years often just isn't enough time to set up a lab, run the experiments, fail a few times, pivot, and then finally break through. By extending the timeline to 7 years, the ERC is fundamentally changing their structure to solve a very real problem. They're giving brilliant minds the actual time they need to take enormous, high-risk swings at huge scientific questions. But, when you talk about handing out 7 million euros, the immediate fear is that only the oldest, most established, veteran scientists are going to get the money. Well, Lipton addressed this directly. She noted that the more fun, forward-looking ideas come from younger people. She was super clear that the ERC is not going to use quotas to fix this. Instead, they rely on extremely experienced evaluation panels. And these panels are trained to look at a proposal and evaluate the scientist based on their specific career stage. The whole goal is to ensure that younger, junior researchers who have these brilliant, forward-looking ideas are absolutely not excluded from these massive career-making funds. However, even with these incredible 7 million euro super grants, there's a broader context we definitely have to acknowledge. So let's hit Section 3, the budget reality check. So the crucial point here is the broader EU research funding program, Horizon Europe, has a budget of 95.5 billion euros. That sounds like an infinite amount of money, right? But it's really not. As it stands right now, of all the projects the ERC ranks as excellent, they can only actually afford to fund 60% of them. That means 40% of excellent, breakthrough potential projects are currently left entirely unfunded. Lepton pointed out that even if the ERC's budget were miraculously doubled in the future, just adjusting their current grants for inflation would eat up a massive chunk of that increase. And that's before they even try to fund that missing 40%. It is a really harsh reality check on the actual limits of global science funding. And because the ERC is only handing out 30 of these specific ERC Plus super grants, critics have done the math. They've claimed the success rate could be a dismal, wasteful 0.5%. But Lepton firmly pushes back on this. She says, 0.5% is nonsense, as we are not going to have everybody who applies for a normal grant applying. Basically, because the requirements are so incredibly high, there's a heavy self-selection process going on. Researchers know if they actually have a shot at a €7 million high-risk grant. The applicant pool naturally narrows itself way down, so this fear of a chaotic, lottery-level success rate is, according to the ERC anyway, totally misplaced. But, funding isn't just about the raw numbers, it's also about who controls those numbers. Let's move into Section 4, Defending Scientific Independence.
There is a very real political vulnerability here for global science. The ERC Scientific Council actually just asked to be established as a fully independent body with a stable long-term budget. Why? Well, as Lepton bluntly put it, who knows what the governments of Europe will look like in 7 years? The original goal of the ERC was to mirror independent national funding agencies, the kind that operate at arm's length from the government. While the ERC currently enjoys huge support, impartial observation shows that if scientific programs aren't politically protected, changing political winds across member states over a 7-year timeline could suddenly disrupt crucial long-term research.
And this defense of independence totally extends to leadership too. The European Commission actually proposed reducing the ERC president's term from 4 years down to just 2 years. Lepton has fiercely resisted this plan. She points out a very practical reality. It takes 2 full years in the job just to learn the ropes. If the term is only 2 years, an executive literally never has the runway to plan and implement long-term strategies. She noted that absolutely no other organization of this type operates with a mere 2-year executive term. You need stability at the top if you're going to have stability in the labs. Finally, let's pivot to a highly modern, honestly super relatable problem that's disrupting everything we've just discussed. Section 5, the AI application avalanche. And this brilliantly illustrates the immediate, on-the-ground impact of artificial intelligence. The ERC is being completely overwhelmed right now with a massive surge in grant submissions. To survive this, they've had to make some pretty painful tweaks to their review process. First, they are providing way less feedback to unsuccessful applicants. That's a huge blow for scientists who really rely on those critiques to improve for next time. They're also assigning fewer readers to evaluate each application. They don't have a magic wand to fix this, They are simply forced to streamline because the sheer volume of paperwork is literally breaking the traditional human review system. So why the sudden surge? Well, it's a deeply ironic AI loop. Step 1. Scientists are increasingly using AI to help write their grant applications, which obviously makes it way faster and easier to submit. Step 2. Because it's easier, a total tidal wave of submissions completely overwhelms the human reviewers at the ERC. Step 3. To cope with that wave, the ERC is now looking at using AI to evaluate the proposals. Now, Lepton stresses that because they're scientists, they aren't just blindly trusting the bots. They are planning proper, rigorous experiments with controls and expert consultation before they ever officially deploy AI in the evaluation process. But man, that loop is undeniable. Which really leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. Will AI evaluating AI-written grants become the new standard for deciding which global scientific breakthroughs actually get funded? It's a staggering thing to think about. I mean, the ERC Plus grants offer a massive €7 million runway for brilliant human minds to solve the world's biggest problems. And yet, the bureaucratic realities of getting that money are increasingly being handed over to artificial intelligence. How these funding agencies manage to navigate budgets, political independence, and this whole AI avalanche will ultimately dictate the entire future of human discovery. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helped you structure your understanding of the crazy shifting landscape of global science.